hello UFO fanatics. Today we will discuss about Archons and their extraterrestrial background. For some time or maybe years the internet is flooded with stories about hungry entities that feeds with human fear and anxiety, utilizing us and our emotions as food and entertainment. It's been said that these entities are deeply infiltrated in all the government aspects all over the world, especially military structures, putting together an entire roller coaster of never-ending suffering and chaos just for their happiness. Now, if you try and put all you could find on the internet together and think about this conspiracy theory, you will give credits to this story and you will go loco. I have put together a few info, just enough to let you make an idea about these entities that stretch a long way in the past. In the ancient Greece during the 8th and 7th centuries BCE, the 700s and 600s, Athens moved from being ruled by a king to being ruled by a small number of wealthy, landowning aristocrats. Aristotle's Constitution of the Athenians, a description of Athenian government, says that the status of king, basileus, became a political office, one of three rulers or archons under the new system, and Athens came to be governed by the king archon, the warlord, and the archon, this last sometimes called the eponymous archon, because the year was identified by his name. Appointment to the supreme offices of state went by birth and wealth, and they were held at first for life, and afterwards for a term of 10 years. Later, 6 other archons were added to the roll. These 9 archons ruled the Athenians, along with the council of the Areopagus, which consisted of all former archons, serving on this board for life. About 10 years later, in 621 or 620 BCE, the Athenians enlisted a certain Draco to make new laws for them. According to Aristotle's description of these laws, the new constitution gave political rights to those Athenians who bore arms, in other words, those Athenians wealthy enough to afford the bronze armor and weapons of a hoplite, see Aristotle. Ath. Paul. 4. Although some of the details given there may have been invented during the 4th century BCE. Draco's laws were most notable for their harshness. There was only one penalty prescribed, death, for every crime from murder down to loitering, see Plut. Sol. 17.1. For this reason, later Athenians would find irony in the lawgiver's name. Draco means serpent, and his reforms have given us the English word draconian. Ancient Gnostic archons, or rulers, in contemporary conspiracy theories. In the classical Gnostic myth, these nefarious beings rule the cosmos, mold primordial matter into a prison for Adam and Eve, and blind the elect to their divine nature. These archons send cataclysms to earth and serve as celestial gatekeepers that keep the divine light trapped in their creation. Contemporary conspiracy theorists such as John Lash, David Icke, and Carol Reimer read the archons not as allegories or metaphors, but as real beings at work in contemporary politics, media and religion. Utilizing Michael Barkan's concept of super-conspiracies, this article examines how conspiracists Lash, Icke, and Reimer weave disparate conspiratorial discourses together through the classical Gnostic myth. The articles concludes that the vast gulf between the anticosmic and anthropic dualism of the classical myth and the generally pro-cosmic and humanist thrust of modern esoterica leads these authors into paradoxical understands of cosmos, mind and eschatology. Archons are, in Gnosticism and religions closely related to it, demonic entities subordinate to the embodiment of evil in the corresponding belief system. Among the Archontics, Ophites, Sethians and in the writings of Nag Hammadi library, the Archons are rulers, each related to one of 7 planets. They prevent souls from leaving the material realm. The political connotation of their name reflects rejection of the governmental system, as flawed without chance of true salvation. In Manichaeism, the Archons are the rulers of a realm within the kingdom of darkness, who together make up the Prince of Darkness. A characteristic feature of the Gnostic concept of the universe is the role played in almost all Gnostic systems by the 7 world-creating Archons, known as the Hebdomad. These 7 are in most systems semi-hostile powers, and are reckoned as the last and lowest emanations of the Godhead. Below them, and frequently considered as proceeding from them, comes the world of the actually devilish powers. There are indeed certain exceptions. Basilides taught the existence of a great Archon called Abraxas who presided over 365 Archons. Evidently from works such as the Apocryphon of John, the Ophite diagrams, on the origin of the world and Pistis Sophia, Archons play an important role in Gnostic cosmology. Probably originally referring to the Greek daemons of the planets, in Gnosticism they became the demonic rulers of the material world, each associated with a different celestial sphere. As rulers over the material world, they are called archons, principalities, or rulers. As with ancient astronomy, which thought of a sphere of fixed stars, above the spheres of the 7 planets, beyond the spheres of the evil archons, Hebdomad, there were the supercelestial regions which a soul must reach by gnosis to escape the dominion of the archons. This place is thought of as the abode of Sophia, wisdom, and Barbelo, also called Ogdod. The Ophites accepted the existence of these 7 archons. Origen, Contra Celsum, 631, a nearly identical list is given in On the Origin of the World. Yaldabaoth, called also Sacklus and Samael. Saturn. Feminine name, Pranoia, forethought, Sambathas, weak. Prophets, Moses, Joshua, Amos, Habakkuk. From Hebrew Yaldabaoth, child of chaos. The outermost who created the 6 others, and therefore the chief ruler and demige par excellence. Called the lion-faced, Leontoides. Io. Jupiter. Feminine name, lordship. Prophets, Samuel, Nathan, Jonah, Micah. Perhaps from Yahu, Yahweh, but possibly also from the magic cry Io in the mysteries. Sabaoth. Mars. Feminine name, deity. Prophets, Elijah, Joel, Zechariah. The Old Testament phrase Yahweh Sabaoth or Jehovah of Armies was thought a proper name, hence Jupiter Sabas. Venus. Feminine name, Sophia. Prophets, Esdras, Zephaniah. Astrophius is beyond doubt the planet Venus, as there are Gnostic gems with a female figure and the legend Astaphi, which name is also used in magic spells as the name of a goddess. Adonaius. The Sun. Feminine name, kingship. Prophets, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Daniel. From the Hebrew term for the Lord, used of God, Adonis of the Syrians representing the winter sun in the cosmic tragedy of Tammuz. In the Mandaean system Adonaius represents the sun. Elios, or Eloarios, or sometimes Elohim. Mercury. Feminine name, jealousy. Prophets, Tobias, Haggai. From Elohim, God, El. Horios. The moon. Feminine name, wealth. Prophets, Mishael, Nahum. From Jeruah. Or light. Or Horus. In the Hellenized form of Gnosticism, either all or some of these names are replaced by personified vices. Orthadia, orthods, or audacity, is the obvious description of Yaldabaoth, the presumptuous demige, who is lion-faced as the Archon Orthadia. Of the Archons Kakia, Zelos, Phthonos, Erinis, Epithymia, the last represents Venus. The number 7 is obtained by placing a Procon or chief Archon at the head. That these names are only a disguise for the Sancta Hebdomad is clear, for Sophia, the mother of them, retains the name of Ogdod, Octonatio. Occasionally, as among the Nassans, one meets with the Archangel Dios, which is evidently the El Shaddai of the Bible, and he is described as the Archon number 4, Harithmotetatos. In the system of the Gnostics mentioned by Epiphanius we find, as the 7 Archons, Io. Sacklus, the chief demon of Manichaeism. Seth. David. Elohim. Elilios, probably connected with Enlil, the Bel of Nippur, the ancient god of Babylonia. Yaldabaoth, or No 6 Yaldabaoth, No 7 Sabaoth. The last book of the Pistis Sophia contains the myth of the capture of the rebellious Archons, whose leaders here appear as 5 in number. Paraplex. Hecate. Ariuth, females. Typhon. Eotenebas, males. Among the Mandaeans, there is a different and perhaps more primitive conception of the 7, according to which they, together with their mother Namaris, Ruha, and their father, Yor, belong entirely to the world of darkness. They and their family are looked upon as captives of the god of light, Mandadihai, Hibbles Iva, who pardons them, sets them on chariots of light, and appoints them as rulers of the world. The Manichaeans readily adopted the Gnostic usage, and their Archons are invariably evil beings, who make up the Prince of Darkness. It is related how the helper of the primal man, the spirit of life, captured the evil Archons, and fastened them to the firmament, or according to another account, flayed them, and formed the firmament from their skin, and this conception is closely related to the other, though in this tradition the number, 7, of the Archons is lost. Irenaeus tells us that the holy hebdomad is the 7 stars which they call planets. It is safe, therefore, to take the above 7 Gnostic names as designating the 7 planetary divinities, the Sun, Moon and 5 planets. In the Mandaean system the 7 are introduced with the Babylonian names of the planets. The connection of the 7 with the planets is also clearly established by the expositions of Celsus and Origen, Contra Celsum, 622 seq, and similarly by the above-cited passage in the Pistis Sophia, where the Archons, who are here mentioned as 5, are identified with the 5 planets, excluding the Sun and Moon. In this, as in several other systems, the traces of the planetary 7 have been obscured, but hardly in any have they become totally effaced. What tended most to obliterate the 7-fold distinction was the identification of the God of the Jews, the lawgiver, with Yaldabaoth and his designation as world creator, whereas formerly the 7 planets together ruled the world. This confusion, however, was suggested by the very fact that at least 5 of the 7 Archons bore Old Testament names for God: El Shaddai, Adonai, Elohim, Jehovah, Sabaoth. Wilhelmans has also pointed out that Gnostic eschatology, consisting in the soul's struggle with hostile Archons in its attempt to reach the Pleroma, is a close parallel of the soul's ascent, in Babylonian astrology, through the realms of the 7 planets to Anu. The late Babylonian religion can definitely be indicated as the home of these ideas. Zoroastrianism. The Bundahishan tells us that in the primeval strife of the devil against the light world, 7 hostile powers were captured and set as constellations in the heavens, where they are guarded by good star powers and prevented from doing harm. 5 of the evil powers are the planets, while here the Sun and Moon are of course not reckoned among the evil powers, for the obvious reason that in the Persian official religion they invariably appear as good divinities. It must be also noted that the Mithras mysteries, so closely connected with the Persian religion, are acquainted with this doctrine of the ascent of the soul through the planetary spheres. Fallen angels. In On the Origin of the World, the Archons impregnate the biblical Eve, an idea probably deriving from the sons of God in Genesis 6:1-4 or the Book of Enoch. In accordance with the depictions of fallen angels in the Enochian writings, the Archons incite passions to humans. Further, they both teach idolatry, sacrifices and bloodshed to enslave the Gnostics and trapping them in ignorance. Greek theology. The mythology of ancient Greece knew gods, daemons, and heroes. Ruling gods appear in the subsequent philosophy of Plato. However, Philo never alludes to Archons, in a single passage, De Mundi I. Presently the syncretism of the later Greek philosophy found room for Archons, which appear in Neoplatonism and were claimed to derive from Plato's unwritten tradition. They are inserted by the author of the book De Mysteritis Egyptiarum, and even it would seem by his questioner Porphyry, below gods, daemons, angels, and archangels, and above heroes, omitted by Porphyry, and departed souls, in the scale of invisible beings whose presence may become manifest. It may be only an accidental coincidence that about the end of the 2nd century Archon was one of the names given by the Platonist Harpocration to the second god of Numenius, Proclus in Tim 93c. For all the series of the ruling gods are collected into the intellectual fabrication as into a summit, and subsist about it. And as all the fountains are the progeny of the intelligible Father, and are filled from him with intelligible union, thus likewise, all the orders of the principles or rulers, are suspended according to nature from the demigus, and participate from thence of an intellectual life. Proclus, the theology of Plato. So you see the terms rulers and serpent, these give birth to all kind of theories and beliefs. I think Reither that extraterrestrials feed from human fear or flesh. The actual entities that feed from the fear of humans are actually humans, making a lot of fame and money around the subject. It is a good choice to expand your knowledge and have the desire to learn more, but don't let any info you find destroy your life or your free will. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more in order to stay tuned.